This is episode 704 of the Rio Grande Foundation's Tipping Point, New Mexico. I'm Paul Gessing, president of the Rio Grande Foundation, New Mexico's free market think tank. You can find out more about the foundation at riograndefoundation.org. I am very pleased to be joined for this episode by Carlos Garcia of the Garcia Automotive Group right here in Albuquerque. And thanks for coming back on, Carlos.
I love coming on. Your listeners are probably tired of hearing from me every 6 or 9 months, but I love coming on and I listen every time you guys put a new episode out.
Well, I appreciate that. And if we could only get rid of EV mandates in New Mexico, then we wouldn't have to have you on so much. But alas, last time I saw you, in fact, in person was up in Santa Fe in the Roundhouse as you performed the duty of expert witness on a bill, HB 270, which would have overturned the EV mandates and prohibited unelected bodies from reimposing those mandates. That was one of several bills relating to EVs that were introduced in the last session, but nothing of substance moved, let alone becoming law. So, before we get into the state of the market and where these regulations are at in the implementation process, talk about the legislative session and what you saw and heard up there.
Well, it was an interesting session. Normally, there are quite a few bills that affect business people in New Mexico, obviously, paid family leave and that kind of stuff. But this year, we had Representative Gail Armstrong, who did a House bill for us, and we had great bipartisan support in our House bill and our Senate bill. And as we have talked about before, and we have had bipartisan support on this for quite some time. We had two committee hearings. The first one, this bill passed, and it was obviously more Democrats on that committee than Republicans, but I think it still passed 9-2 or something like that. And the first one, and everyone was really receptive to listening and asking a lot of questions. And I think as I've maintained for quite some time, if New Mexicans really knew what this was and the EV mandate was, there would be a lot more pushback and requests for discussion. But educating a lot of the legislators was a great opportunity for me and for the auto dealers and car buying public in general, and they were very receptive and seemed like they got educated on it. The second committee uh, was that committee was a little bit more. I think that was the I can't remember which committee that was. I'm sure you have it
Well,
in
when
front of you.
we saw each other in the House Energy
Yeah,
Committee,
yeah, the
was there a
energy.
separate bill or because that one died in that committee?
Yeah, but we had a committee hearing before that
Okay.
in the House, and that was I'll remember which committee it was, but that one was obviously more successful, and I think it was 9-2 in that committee meeting. But in the energy one, there were a few that we knew no matter what we weren't going to get their votes, but we felt like there was a a swing vote sort of in the center of three votes. And for the most part, the questions and commentary from the legislators were along the lines of that first committee, really good questions. And we brought to light a lot of issues that I thought were that people really didn't know about. And um, I thought what was most interesting to me, there were really two things. One was that I've been talking to you now for almost a couple years as this has gone on, um, that the people speaking, in this case it was against this bill, um, they're not making these strong environmental arguments anymore about why we should have an EV mandate, and the support comments or the comments against this bill and in support of EV mandates really weren't even coherent. If you listen to them, like you spoke in favor of the bill. If you listen to the other ones, I couldn't figure out what people were saying. And, for the third year in a row, we had to hear somebody come and talk about the Sierra Club member that tried to buy a Chevy Bolt at a Chevy dealership, and the salesperson tried to get him to buy a gas car and didn't know anything about the EV. I'm like, that's the best thing that you can bring up after 3 years of the same thing on a car that hasn't been made for 3 years. Give me something better than that. So
Mhm.
I kind of got a kick out of that. But what was upsetting was in that energy committee hearing, it was clear to me that we had made a lot of traction, and I thought we were one vote away, which we were. And after the hearing in the hallway, which often does, and we were at that one, we were right before the speaker had called everybody down to the floor. A few legislators stopped me in the hall, and a couple of them who I knew would not vote for it came up and said, "Thank you for the education. It's great to learn about this. We need to have ongoing discussions. Give me a call. I want to learn more about this," which I thought I appreciated that. But what was alarming was the vote that we had been counting on as our swing vote gave a nice commentary on why they thought that the EV mandate was not right. And then that person ended up voting against this bill. And afterwards, this person told me and the director of the Automobile Association that and I'm not going to say he or she, so I'm saying they, were getting texts from environmental groups while during the hearing and from other people that said, we're going to run someone in a primary against you if you vote for this, which was alarming to me because I'm one of those people that just believes there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. But that was upsetting that it came down to that. And of course, with our past history in this EV bill, getting backdoored with text messages at the 11th hour is not something that's new to us in this fight, but that one was certainly upsetting, especially with a legislator that we have supported unconditionally for quite a long time, our family and the Automobile Dealers Association. So that was sort of eye-opening for me. And in reality, I knew that they would have a hard time passing this, and even if it made it to the governor, she would veto it. But my thought was at least it sends a message, and we get a lot more people educated and a lot more legislators in this. And I think the more committee hearings we would have had, I think